Favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then with that, I would make a motion that we write a letter of support for this project and indicate a willingness to enter into negotiations for some potential tax abatement. Would that work?
Well, you could put some conditions in there or something
Correct.
to make Commissioner Bullock feel better.
Okay.
I think I'd keep it pretty broad,
Yeah,
you know.
I kind of like it.
we'll know
Take a
more.
poke toe, see what they said.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna follow the same type pattern.
Yeah.
All right, is there any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. If you can send us Pocatello's letter, get that to us today, and then when do you need the letter before?
I need it I need it ASAP. I think today they're doing something on it. I don't know what they're doing. I won't probably talk to them again until tomorrow. But I don't know. They just told me ASAP. So I think just the willingness and knowing that they'll be.
Have you got a draft that you could send to us?
I don't have a draft, but I have the
I mean,
city's letter.
something that you would do and we could, you know, make it
Oh.
ours. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I can give you the talking points. I'll forward that to you,
some
Commerce.
sort of a template that
Yeah.
you could give us and then we could retool it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go by the cities because obviously the
Right.
city can't offer the same things. And also, we're working on behalf of the city, so they did mention, and you might also, that we're the project manager on it, and note PVDC, because not all cities have us. And so that was important to the commerce.
Okay, yeah.
And
you'll give us that
and then I'll keep you apprised after.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I
Appreciate that.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Elise?
Elise Foster, subdivision planner. I have a plat for a 2-lot subdivision. It is an existing subdivision. They are doing a lot line adjustment in order to have driveways be on the proper lots without easements. So the lot sizes have changed a little bit. There was no construction required. Does the commission have questions?
Any questions for the Chestnut Hill subdivision?
Nope.
Just changing a line, right?
Just changing a line.
Same footage.
Yep. So I would entertain a motion to approve that then.
I will make that motion that we go ahead and approve the changes on this subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That is a step with.
It's a new one.
Well, are you happy for Seattle?
Yeah. I don't like that they have to play the Niners again.
That's always
Division rivals.
injuries.
They just don't die.
I gotta hand that to that coach comes through.
Thank you.
Okay, Tristan.
Did you spell your name right?
I hope so. Can't really read it, so no moment.
Tristan Borkwin, Assistant Planning Director. I have before you an updated timeline for the Land Use and Development Ordinance rewrite based on our meeting last Thursday. It helped me to rewrite a timeline to have the redlined version next to me. So I provided you with both so that you could see everything that was removed by doing it the way we proposed and suggested last time. I did want to bring attention to a couple of items on the new critical path and slack analysis, which was on phase 2 and 3. The total time is 1 week longer on each of those than I had hoped, and that was just based on scheduling conflicts. So in phase 2, we have quite a bit of our planning staff in training for a week, which extended that from a 4-week timeline to a 5-week timeline. And then on phase 3 with spring break and some vacations affecting that timeline, it's 3 weeks total instead of 2 weeks total. I did also check with Christy Davenport on your schedules so that I could make sure that the dates that I scheduled for work sessions as well as hearings were times that all 3 of you would be present. So I didn't want to add anything to the timeline that just wasn't already from the get-go going to be postponed. The last thing that is different is in the new updated timeline, there is no likely case. The original timeline had best case, likely case, and worst case. I removed the likely case on this one because I felt like with solidifying everything the way I did, likely case and best case are going to be the same. So the only thing we would have in worst case would be any of those risks that I've outlined that could potentially push the timeline back. So those were the only things that I wanted to bring to your attention. Did you have any questions regarding the updated timeline?
Did you look at that, Jonathan, the timeline?
I did.
For as far as the legal process and everything?
I did.
And?
And I sign off on it. Kristen does good work.
Okay. I just kind of wait for the other shoe to fall down there, so, okay.
And so this is for the complete rewrite of the entire ordinance package?
Correct.
Okay. And there's been a lot of discussion about breaking it out piecemeal and doing a couple of pieces. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think my thought is the same as last time, which is this is going to be the best approach, and I think overall is going to still be the fastest approach. When you start piecemealing, I think we're going to run into more risks. We're going to come across things that are going to have to be edited that we didn't think about ahead of time, which could then potentially push the timeline back even further. And one other thing I did want to mention, in number 4, I have key commission takeaways, and because I know Commissioner Bullock had some questions last time about what items could run concurrently. And so each phase kind of depicts those tasks that can run at the same time. So we're hoping that integrating workshop comments can run concurrently with cleaning up draft 1. Same thing with phase 3 for public hearing draft. We're going to be doing appendices and maps at the same time that Emma is doing the final draft document, incorporating advisory committee feedback would happen at the same time that we are also running commission work session and planning work session. So we're trying to condense those phases as much as possible by just running them at the same time.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, why we have an audience today. The ordinance in question is the energy ordinance. I don't believe there's anything that would preclude us from pulling that out and doing something with that separately, should we choose to do so. I think that through the LUPA, and there's nothing in county code that would prevent us from doing that. So with that, what's your thoughts on pulling that section out? Because that section can stand independent of your zoning, because if I read your current version of the ordinance, it still requires a conditional use permit. So regardless of the zone, it would require that process. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be the timeline, that rough timeline that I gave to the commission last Thursday, which was still going to push us to the end of May to have that done.
I think we can have it done faster than that if we choose. But talk about the conditional use permit process. Does that give the local area more say over what goes on in their area?
So it's a public hearing, so it would just be subject to regular public hearing requirements, so public comment, public testimony would all be part of that process.
Correct.
And then it would have to adhere to the 5 criteria for approval for council to approve the conditional use permit.
Right, but the public in that specific area would have the opportunity to voice and potentially vote down a project in their area. So maybe somebody in the north would say yes, and somebody in the south would say no.
Correct. Well, anybody in the county can comment. It doesn't have to be anybody specific to that area of the county that it's in question. But yes, the public can comment. They can't vote,
Correct.
but they can make public testimony.
Okay. And the ordinance, and you have a fairly complete ordinance package for the energy stuff, correct?
Correct.
And in that, do we have anything on battery storage system, or are we saying no to that at this point in time?
Well, the direction on Thursday was to say no to that at this time, so that would be the direction, unless it's changed today, that we would take.
So do you still stand by the solar ordinance that you put together 18 months ago?
Well,
That was passed by,
yeah, so so those are two separate situations. So today you're talking about an energy ordinance, like an alternative energy ordinance. What went through work sessions and public hearings was a solar ordinance only, a solar ordinance that would be added into this zoning ordinance, not its own separate ordinance. So if we were doing an alternative energy ordinance, that would have to stand by current work sessions that we've already had and be pulled completely out. The ones that went through that 6-month process and the moratorium, that is solar only. And the direction from commission last Thursday was to add nuclear
correct.
and not do anything with battery. Where the one that went through the moratorium, that was solar only. That is a completely different ordinance than the chapter of alternative energy that's in the draft of the land use and development ordinance.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
Just for giggles, can the rewrite of the whole total package run an independent track versus alternative energy package? And if one gets through before the other one, you could reference it on the all-inclusive one as, putting that in there? For instance, if the alternative energy gets through 3 weeks ahead of time or 4 weeks ahead of time, it will not delay the full, and could you reference that, saying, yeah, as when we pass this, or does it have to go clear back through the hearing process? At some point, you can always pass ordinances independent. It's been that way for years. How do we reference that into the all-inclusive one once it's done? Is that part of the adoption? I guess help me with that, how we can do that. If we run them independently of each other, but ultimately they could reference or be an addendum or an amendment to it. Tell me how that process could work.
Yeah, so right now, the draft that we have, it's just a chapter of the overall ordinance. So that chapter could be pulled out. It would take additional staff time to draft some of the things that are referencing another chapter, because now it's got to stand alone on its own merits. So while you could reference must adhere to conditional use requirements in such and such ordinance, if the energy ordinance got adopted first, then you're referencing a draft. You're not referencing law. So I think we would have some issues trying to figure out how we would reference an ordinance that hasn't been passed and doesn't exist yet. And then the same thing with your definition section. Right now, we just have a massive Chapter 2 definitions that covers all other chapters. So if you were to pull the energy chapter out, then you'd have to pull some of those definitions out and create a whole separate basic provisions definition section, and possibly even a conditional use permit section that would go with the alternative energy chapter.
In the ordinance that I looked at, it basically refers to that these particular uses will require conditional use.
Correct.
That's just because of, we're not changing anything with zoning at all.
Right.
Because any zone that we would require this kind of a build, whatever you call it, is going to require conditional use. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So I just cannot, in my own opinion, I just think that because of some economic conditions, because of some time frame issues, I still stand, I would love to independently pass something that's already either been passed or ready to go, and then adjust on the comprehensive back to it. And again, I'm not your expert on how you do that, but There are some time constraints that we're on even what we just talked about in executive session. We have possible future growth that's going to depend on our energy. And there's a window right now that's been offered to us because of economic conditions and that we don't get to control. So I think that's what, in my opinion, I'd love to get the boiling pot of water ready to go that needs to right now, get that done, and then reference it back. And I think it would be minor wordsmithing to adopt it back. I don't think the definitions are going to change. I think, thank goodness for computers that we could cut and paste or whatever. That's just my opinion and my input on that. So, does that make sense?
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
makes
saying?
sense.
Okay, so.
Commissioner?
And I haven't changed. I don't like the hodgepodge deal. I don't want to split our staff and have one of them working on this one and one of them working on that one. That's what we've had in the past. And then this one doesn't actually match with this one and this one doesn't match with that one until we have the final pages there, and then we have to go back and redo again. I think that you have a plan that you've submitted to us that is in a good timeline, and we can talk about economics and everything else, but I think doing it right also saves the county and money. I mean, we're not doing a 3 or 4 posts in the paper, and we're doing it one time for a public hearing, and this is what it is. So I haven't changed from that.
So back to, I guess, so this scenario you give us,
Yes.
under the best case, and nobody can actually, it's a crystal ball. What you're saying is, under the best conditions, that you're looking at May for the complete package?
Yeah,
Am I reading
so,
that right?
so the actual publication, because you have to publish it in
Right,
the
I mean,
paper
just-
for it to be ordinance, so
Right.
that would be July 3rd, but yes, the base of everything being done, and now we have to go through the paperwork process, you're looking at June 3rd would be, July 3rd, that's a typo, I just realized. I have June 10th to June 3rd, that doesn't make any sense.
So that's your best case
July 3rd.
scenario? With publications, with hearings,
Yes.
with doing a complete, doing all complete package all at one time?
Correct.
Okay. If we did pull it out and do a piecemeal, what's your 2 timelines then?
I
One
mean,
for one package, one for the other one, what difference would that be?
I would say for the energy section, you'd probably still be looking at May at the earliest, which was the timeline I gave on Thursday. And then you're pushing the rest of the package out because truthfully, there's no way the team has time to do both simultaneously. That's just the fact. Unless you want us only doing that and not doing our regular workload. So I think that would then push the rest of the package out 5-6 months.
If we could have a reasonable assurance, there's no such thing as a guarantee. If we could have a reasonable assurance that the entire package should be done by mid-June, 1st of July, and do it that way with the assurance, I don't know whether pushing it to May would make that big a significant difference to me on that. That's just, and talking what we're doing. But if we're talking a 6-month lag period, then I've got some heartburn over that.
Which that's why I stated I took likely case out because I really do feel best case is likely case. I think we can truly get this done by July 3rd.
Okay.
Commissioner Huff said on Thursday, once it's on paper, that's what it is. And I really tried to get everybody's schedules. What's everybody doing for the next 6 months? What are the commissioners' schedules for the next 6 months? So that I could make it as reasonable and likely as possible.
Hal, you've been quiet? Thoughts?
I have nothing to add.
The one item to consider, though, is there's a fair amount of work that needs to take place against the existing ordinance to make it accept the alternative energy package. So there's a little more work there than just, yeah, we've had the public hearing, but we haven't had all of the changes that need to go into the existing ordinance so that they mesh and jive legally. That's the one component that, as a comment, I think that we have perhaps missed in explaining why it pushes out as far as it does into May and into June. It's because there's work in the existing ordinance that has never taken place.
If we double back, part of the reason we had before is because of the complete rezone. What we're doing now is rolling back to the multi-use is still going to be there. So at this point, we're not changing
Correct.
any of the, so that's the compression of time that we're gaining by using the same zoning as we have today.
Correct.
To accomplish it. That doesn't mean a year from now that we could not isolate some multi-use and go through those hoops a year from now, 2 years from now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Knowing that we're probably, because of the growth, because of the different happenings, we'll probably end up having to address that soon, but not in a timely manner to accomplish what has been on the table forever and ever and ever.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I think going down this pathway allows us that time needed once this is done to do those takings analyses, to meet with the public and see what they're thinking for zoning for their property, and then make some amendments at that time.
Okay. I think you got my questions off the table.
Well, what do you guys want to do then?
Well, I'll just put it out as a motion that we follow the pattern. We have it on paper right now. This group has exceeded my expectations and everything they've done. When I first come into office, I received phone call after phone call every week. I don't receive those phone calls now. I trust them, and I want to do it the right way. So I'd make a motion that we follow the pattern that they've set out for us.
We have a motion. Is there any further discussion?
I've already discussed mine. I haven't heard yours.
Well, I want to compress the timeline, if I'm being honest. And I think there's got to be a way you can do it. But at the same time, I also agree with Commissioner Moser that you guys have done a pretty fantastic job getting where you're at.
Well, and I can make a commitment to you to compress as much as we can, where we can, and this is hopefully best case is worst case.
Best case, you said, is June 2nd through,
July 3rd would be when it's actually in the journal and becomes ordinance.
My worry is, once we hit May and June, we're into lots of other duties that we have to pay attention to. So the more we can get done between now and 1st of May will help our schedules, but I'm still committed to putting an extra meeting in or whatever it is, and hopefully we haven't addressed your side of that with your planning and zoning board. Are they willing to once in a while maybe meet an extra time during a month to help us do that?
Yeah, so we have a regularly scheduled meeting with them next Wednesday, and we'll probably bring up this meeting that we're having today with you and see, because one of the timelines is contingent upon a special meeting with them, which we have enough notice to give them that I think we should be able to accomplish that. But being able to get some of their feedback and schedules, I think, will help with this timeline compression as well.
Okay. I would think they would want to get this thing through off of their plate as well, so.
Yes,
can you hit May 1st?
I will do my absolute best. I think our office would love to have it done tomorrow if we could, because we are working every day in an ordinance that doesn't make sense. And that's the driver for us to try to push it as much as possible, is to get an ordinance in place that works for everyone, our staff, the whole county, the commission, as quickly as possible.
Al, you okay if you commit to a May 1st date?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't want to commit. I will commit my commitment to getting it done
There's too many
as quickly as possible.
There's way too many uncontrolled factors in our office that there's no way I would make that commitment. Just
Well, we're assuming that we're all agreeing on what's in the packet. I mean, the final packet. I mean, we don't know where that is yet, so that's why I say, you made a commitment. You know, you've told us what it is. Thank you.
That said, Commissioner Huff, I don't have a problem if it breaks out. It is what it is. If that's the direction that the commission tells us today that that's what you would like to do, I would think that we could push that issue. We have a number of things that we have to resolve this on Wednesday's scheduled meeting with council to find out who could, if we needed to add special meetings either in March or April to accelerate the timeline. But until I have that information and know what they could potentially accommodate with their schedules, I can't say absolutely right here. But
Okay.
I will commit, I will share with you, we will do what the commission instructs us to do.
Okay, well, I'm willing to move forward then, if you're willing to shoot for May.
I will shoot for the moon.
All right. We have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you. That's my discussion.
Same here. Well done. Thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Use policy, vehicle use policy. Commissioner Bullock.
You know, we kicked this around last week, and I listened, and there was just a couple things that I would maybe propose different than what I did before, and I appreciate what Christie was talking about, the GSA rate. And so I actually put in there that that it would be computed at the GSA rate per mile or Bannock County's approved adopted rate during the start of budget season. Because then if we don't agree to, I think we looked it up yesterday, it's 72 cents. Yeah, so, and I would think that would go down with the price of fuel
It varies.
going down, but,
I've only seen it go down once.
yeah, but because of budgeting constraints, I think by adding that verbiage in there that we would establish that rate, if it's not 45 or whatever it is, we would establish that rate, which would, that way they can budget from that. It's their budget, it's their travel budget, they're responsible for that travel budget. If you don't have the money to travel all over that place, then there's a constraint there. And so I did change that word in there. The other one is on, we talked about a little bit difference between business travel and local regular use of personal vehicles used under that particular condition, which was there before. And I changed the word from should to must, which means any use of any personal vehicle under those would have to require county commissioners. So other than that, that was pretty well everything there. That's the only information that really changed on that. Travel, and again, there is a line in there that I didn't include in there that we would only pay mileage for one way. I just am not a fan of that. I again think the overall, the budget itself is going to determine how many trips a guy is going to take out of the area to go to a conference, and I think that's their budget. They have presented it, we have approved it. If you meet that budget, I don't know whether I want to have them have to come run for us to put conditions on it. So I'm kind of letting the budget be the sheriff. That's probably not a good word since we have a sheriff as an elected official, but it puts ownership of their own travel back underneath that elected official. where it should be. That, they've got to think about how many of their staff is going to go to conferences or to trainings or whatever it is. It forces them to be their budget and say, that is your budget, we're sticking with it. So, other than just putting the whatever we decide as a county, this is the mileage rate we're going to pay at the start of the budget season. That's my recommendation, so.
So I do have concerns with the GSA rate or Bannock County approved rate. I would prefer if you put the lesser of, because to me, that's open-ended, that I can claim GSA if I want, or I can prove the county rate. It's too open-ended to me. That
So
would be-
you're proposing we just add another line on that to whichever's lower?
No,
If you're going to do that.
don't even reference the
Don't reference the
government
GSA.
rate. Let's just set a rate during budget every year.
Okay, I can live with
You
that.
could go with the GSA rate, but it would be Bannock County's rate.
And that way, if the rate changes, we're not ending up having to pay fringe and get all that back
But
if it
what
changes.
But there is a case that GSA could be lower.
Right, but if we set the county rate at budget time,
Okay,
and it's a conservative amount based on the GSA
Okay.
rate, so 72.5 cents, we set it at 60 or 65.
because I
It
know.
shouldn't be lower, but then we could, in an emergency situation, adjust the rate in January to whatever it is.
Because it's less than, we're not budgeting more, so I'm okay with that. Because I know a lot of counties, and I've talked with them before, they just say, we don't care what the GSA rate is, this is all we can afford. So I get that.
Right.
But we should be able to set that with our elected officials so that they know when they prepare that budget, here's the number that you can use for your travel allowance. And then it's their responsibility to stay within that budget.
And then what's the definition of local? Is Blackfoot local?
Yeah,
So I would-
I didn't define that,
I
so.
would prefer if you put business travel as out-of-town travel, and then you just keep if you want to have two, I think we could just have one. You just pay, if you're using your personal vehicle for whatever county business use, you just pay people. Because to me, there's no difference as if I drive to Blackfoot, or if I drive to Boise, or if I drive to the gym. I mean, it's personal wear and tear and use on my vehicle that if I am choosing to use my vehicle versus a county vehicle, under your policy, you want them paid.
So we would just combine that, just,
One rate.
just what? I mean,
I
it wouldn't be business travel, it
I
would
could
just be
rewrite
travel?
this. I could rewrite this, yeah, and travel, and then that monthly.
Why don't you write it to what you think you could live with, and then just get it back to us, and then, because this doesn't have to be, other than, here again, we've got, I just got the numbers. January is probably one of our highest travel months in because of all of that. I'd love to see this somehow get adjusted, so that at least we know what's going on.
And something
that.
else to keep in mind that hadn't been thought about is we have to pay our election and jury workers the same rate, or not jury, jurors,
Jurors,
the
yeah.
same rate that Bannock County pays. That's not been budgeted as well. So statute dictates that if we have a juror, we have to pay them the county-approved mileage rate. So that's going to be a budgetary impact that may fall outside of budget, because we never know how many jurors we're going to have.
Or how far they have to come from.
Yep.
Like if you have Twin Falls jury that has to come over here, I've
No,
seen.
we-
No, because they would have to cover the cost of
Ooh,
that.
Yeah.
but I've seen
They're
time that
only- They
we,
could be Swan Lake.
But yeah, somebody could drive back
Yeah.
and forth to Swan Lake every day for a
So
week.
that's got to be.
so that's got to be in the
whatever rate you
budgeting
set
process, whether you anticipate that, so. I would feel okay if you just kind of, do you have the copy of what I have here? This
If
is,
you could send it to me in Word.
I'll give that
I
to
have
you.
it.
This is a newer one than probably what you have,
But
and
if you
then,
email it to me in
and
Word,
then tweak it.
yeah, then I don't have to try and convert it, because I don't have a
Okay.
PDF converter anymore.
Because I think that makes more sense, tying it back to the budget, to where it belongs, then they're responsible for that, and if they want to abuse it, they're cutting their own throats, as far as elected official or department.
I haven't changed.
I know.
I still believe that we had this problem. It was up to the elected officials before. We had a big problem. We come to a solution a couple of years back. It has worked.
It has worked.
It has been good. Christie does a great job in assigning cars and finding cars. I mean, she talks to every office she has to. I would say, though, that if we do not have a county car available, and somebody takes their own car, they should get mileage both ways. But if we have a county car available and somebody wants to go and visit grandma or extend a vacation instead of a perk in their job, I don't think that we owe money for somebody to extend on a vacation or to do that part.
But you don't, because the mileage is all dictated, it's a fixed mileage from this point to wherever you're going, not going to see Aunt Molly.
But
It's a fixed rate,
But we're paying both ways.
yes.
I don't think we should pay both ways either.
Well, we'll probably agree to disagree with that one. So,
I think it's an incentive for people to drive their own cars, which I think it's cheaper for us and better for us if we drive county cars.
Well, like I said, we went through this a couple of years ago, and
I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, the old adage. And I feel like we came up with a system a couple of years ago that we've been living by that has really been working well. And the only thing that might be broke is what we're paying per mile.
and like I said, I would add on to our existing one that if the county doesn't have a car available and we ask you to take your car, then we pay both ways.
Well,
I think that that's one that,
I would ask, we have an elected officials meeting coming up 1st of February, that you do the draft as Ken has asked, and then we bring that to the elected officials and have an arm wrestle, and then we can come back here and take whatever the elected officials say and make a decision and either have them like us or hate us.
Would you like me to do the draft of how it currently is, revising possibly the dollar amount and paying both ways, and then Ken's version?
This is Ken's deal, I'll let him answer that question.
You know, I think everything's on the table right now. I don't have a problem with, here's a revised recommendation of what is, here's, if you want to call it Ken's doctrine. I'm not tacking on to that one, Monroe doctrine or whatever it is. And then let's let the elected officials, because I really think elected officials, we are not their bosses. They are elected officials. The only boss that an elected official has is the voters and the budget. We do control the budget.
The problem that we're gonna have though is you're gonna have departments that, oh, I'm gonna get paid and I'm gonna get paid both ways. I can make a lot of money by driving my own vehicle. If there's not a little bit of a mandate that says drive a county car first, we're gonna be paying a lot of money in mileage and there'll be fewer people carpooling. I'll drive, you'll drive, she'll drive, he'll drive, and we'll all end up at the same place so that we can all get mileage. And I understand what you're saying, that there needs to be some onus on that department head and elected official to say, no, we're going to spend through our budget. But what's going to happen is there's going to be the budget is going to increase for mileage, and it's going to be exponential. I really think that we have a system that works great, where ask for a county car first. Drive that, carpool. And if you have to take your own vehicle because there's not one available, yeah, you should get paid both ways. But just picking to choose to drive your own car so that you can get mileage both ways, I think that mileage both ways, if you're just picking to drive, is an incentive to drive your own car that we're going to burn through budget quicker than we think.
And I agree, but it's their budget. And if they want their budget to help pay for other things, they may say, no, here is our travel allowance. If you meet that, you're on your own. You're going to drive over there all by yourself and not get reimbursed at all. To me, and here again, we're beating that to death, but the budget basically says you can't take advantage of that system and make money off of that because it's cutting out your budget.
so we set county policy.
Policy,
The three of us.
to a certain extent, but.
Let's bring it to the elected officials, and then we
Okay.
can come back and make an official decision here.
I'll email
Go
that to
from
you,
there.
Christie, and we'll go from
And the
there.
elected officials meeting's the 5th?
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
It's like the first week in February, I thought.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, with that, Christie, where do you?
Quick second. Christie Clauser, Comptroller. I have two items before the board. The first is the Secure Rural Schools certification of expenditures. It's just basically a reporting of how we spent those dollars. These were those funds that normally we don't have Title III funds, but because I put the number on the wrong column. You guys signed it and didn't catch me. We had Title III funds this year. So these were the funds that Search and Rescue used for the wild, nope, help me.
The search and rescue. Backcountry, yes.
Recovered.
Yep.
So that's what these expenditures are. And then as soon as I have this, I will get it submitted.
So you didn't find more money, you're just reallocating it?
No, I'm not the good news bear today.
Well, then I don't know if we should approve this.
Well, if we don't approve that, we will be in non-compliance with the report.
We can't have that.
I would move that we go ahead and approve the report as submitted. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay?
The next item I have for the board is an ARPA update. We have, in fiscal year '25, we spent $16,253,489 of ARPA funds, of which we've received $17,055,675. That left us $802,000 to spend this fiscal year on remaining open projects. Remaining open projects were the YDC Event Center building, the boilers. We weren't sure about the exhibit hall, the camera project, which had been completed, but we hadn't received invoices, and then upgrading Central. So in FY '26 to date, we have spent $538,422 of those dollars, which leaves us $263,763.79. At this point, because all contracts termed on 12/31 of '25, and no additional obligations were made through contracts or interagency agreements, I'm afraid we are going to have to turn back that $263,000. Positive note is that is only 1.546% of the total amount we received. We were hoping that we might be able to spend that on like paving for YDC, but because we don't have any contracts or agreements, we can't. That doesn't fit the obligation definition for the Department of Treasury.
Yeah, I was hoping down at the event facility that we could extend them sidewalks that we didn't finish, and the locks on the doors. And
Now, I do have a little bit of good news. We still have that 100,000 in pill. So that was for overflow ARPA. So we could potentially find projects, define what those are, and then you guys could approve those once you get some quotes, and we can assign out those dollars.
well, after our experience with the state, I don't want to be owing the federal government funds that we miss or didn't understand.
Well, I just say we played it conservatively, and we came up okay. I mean, we did the best we could with what we had, and if we didn't spend it all, that's okay.
Is it worth an ask? I mean, is there any wiggle room at all to just say, here's a couple things that we would like?
I checked Christie's work and I agree with it.
Okay, and I'm okay with that. I was just gonna say, but it's always worth an ask.
The last guidance we got was if you didn't have obligations, and they've been sending that out for the last 9 months, if you don't have obligations, give us our money and give it now. We've held it off to this point just to see what we did spend through the end of the calendar year. And
Okay.
I'd rather have that number than the brackets around it,
Yep. So again,
or
I
in red.
feel like we played it
Yeah, so-
okay. We did good.
so we'll get our final report done for this last quarter and then work on returning the money, and I'll get you a check request for that as soon as we figure out the process.
Great, thank you. Good job.
For the whole project, thank you. I
Yes.
mean, that was huge. Thank you.
I would prefer not to get a $17 million surplus again in the next one.
Well, it was amazing how many people just said, well, yeah, I can spend that easy. Well, yeah.
Oh,
If you didn't have any rules, you could just spend it easy.
it wasn't that easy.
True story.
Thank you.
No.
True story. Okay, with that, we're to the resolutions and ordinances. We have Resolution 2026-5, authorization and destruction of auditing files. Is there any discussion on that?
I'd make a motion that we go ahead and approve Resolution 2026-5.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Next is a memo authorizing destruction of documents from the clerk. Any discussion on that?
Nope. I'd make a motion that we approve the destruction as per the memo from the clerk.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the last thing on the agenda today is the consent agenda. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns there?
I had a question. The mayor of Downey contacted me yesterday, and there was what used to be the bar down there that was requesting a license. Have we approved that? Because they have changed their mind, and I think as a city, they're going to refund whatever money was charged for that. And he asked me whether the county has accepted any money from a beer.
For an alcohol license?
Uh-huh.
I believe the alcohol license for the barn downey was approved by the board.
Okay, evidently they have retracted that application. I told him I would see.
The bar would need to reach out to us, but my
Okay.
understanding is they were open on New Year's Eve. And so if they've been open and sold, we're not going to give
And that's what he
anything
told
back.
me. He said it was kind of an informal, but there again,
No, they
So,
got an alcohol license.
how much
and
was it?
If they choose to close, they choose to close.
right. Do you know how
My
much
guess
it is?
If they
I
have,
don't.
if they have alcohol and beer and wine, it'd be, my guess, $287.50, depending on if they had to transfer the license in and it was more, but I would have to look and see what it was.
But at this point, I just don't know whether I'm interested in refunding any money.
We have
if-
never refunded money on
Okay.
someone that opened and then changed their mind.
I
Well, I
just,
think they need to get on the agenda and come and ask the commission.
I doubt that will happen.
And the entity would need to come, not the mayor.
Right, and that's what he was saying,
Yeah.
because they had contacted the city. He said, we'll probably go ahead and refund it, but they can do what they want to do. I'm not going to advise him what
Yeah.
to do.
My understanding is they were open.
Yeah, so, and there again, I have no more information about that, but,
We know they were open because we had criminal cases come out.
okay.
I was gonna say,
I will reach back down and let him know that's what our observation is, and they can do what they need to do under their own legal counsel down there, so. So, other than that, I will make the motion that we accept the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And with that, we will stand adjourned for the day.
So, something come out of that
Oh,
so-called informal party?
always. We get criminal cases with Utahns out of the bars.
It's Downey.